Hi, this is Mark Hockman of PC World, and we're here at CES 2019 checking out two of the best business notebooks in the market, the ThinkPad X1 Carbon and the ThinkPad X1 Yoga.
People love their ThinkPads.
People love their ThinkPads, and in fact, we did too. In fact, if you go to the ThinkPad X1 Carbon, this is the 7th generation machine. We gave the 6th generation machine a rare 5-star rating. So we're looking to see what has actually improved in this generation as well. Now, the key for this is a couple of things. We're told that Lenovo didn't wanted to make sure that customers knew that the ThinkPad X1 Carbon was made out of carbon. So there is actually a new subtle carbon fiber finish, which you can see sort of this checkerboard pattern. Isn't that nice?
Nice.
Yeah, it is. It doesn't actually have, well, it has a little bit of a matte feel to it, so that's going to help people holding on to it when they're in their lap and so forth.
I like it.
It's pretty, isn't it? But the key here is the inclusion of the new Whiskey Lake core chips from Intel. These things are actually going to ship in June, so it gives Intel a little time to sort of ship these to Lenovo for inclusion in the ThinkPad. Now, the ThinkPad itself, the X1 Carbon, is still super, super light. I love this thing. It feels totally light in your hand. It's actually 2.46 pounds. It's slightly thinner, though you'll probably not notice, at 14.95 millimeters. Comes with the standard complement of ports that the previous generation did. There's a USB-C, another USB-C. Both of these are, in fact, Thunderbolt. You've got the odd second generation Ethernet, which in fact is designed, both of these are designed to use for Lenovo's docking station. USB Type A and HDMI, as well as the 3.5 millimeter port. Now, one of the things that Lenovo has also had, both in the previous generation and this one, is the ThinkShutter. And the ThinkShutter is there to prevent people from, or hackers, I suppose, from looking in on you as you're doing your work. You can actually close the shutter and keep hackers from looking at you.
Nice.
Yeah, it is nice. The other thing that's interesting about these machines is that if you have been a habitual Lenovo ThinkPad user, you've known that in the past they've they haven't done a whole lot in terms of multimedia. And of course, these days, people are looking for machines both to use at home as well as work. So there's a couple things that we're actually talking about here. So the displays go all the way up to include Dolby Vision, HDR 400 to give them that visual pop. They're both available in sort of the standard 1080p as well as 2560 by 1440 or 1440p. Really all the way up to 400, 500 nits. So you're looking at big, bright, beautiful displays. And that, I think, is probably going to be something that most people appreciate. Again, Lenovo's had sort of a historical matte finish on their displays. It hasn't been too bright. We have a couple of things in here as far as audio is concerned. They've gone to a 4-speaker configuration using Dolby Atmos. We can't show it to you as far as what it sounds like on camera, but trust me, it sounds great as far as the X1 Carbon is, and especially over on the 2nd X1 Yoga. So the specs are pretty standard stuff, 8 to 16 gigabytes of memory, 2 terabytes of PCIe SSD, and again, these will ship in June for about a starting price of $1,709. Now, if you can, I think we should go over to the X1 Yoga, which is a little bit different than the X1 Carbon. The X1 Carbon has been sort of positioned as a traditional notebook. The X1 Yoga, because it flips all the way back into tent mode, it's essentially a 360-degree convertible. It's priced a little bit more, but you get a little bit more in terms of capabilities. Like I said, the price is a little bit higher. This is going to start out at $1,929 when it ships in June. What we have is actually a change in the materials as well.
Yeah, what is this? What is this?
Aluminum.
It's not the usual ThinkPad.
No, it's not carbon at all. This is shiny. It's a little bit. It provides a little bit of passive cooling, and it looks spectacular. This is actually the previous generation Yoga. So this is the 4th generation Yoga on the left, and the 3rd generation on the right. And you can see again on the right, pretty much the standard ThinkPad chassis. The aluminum really sort of takes it in the next generation, really adds a touch of class to it all. So with the ThinkPad Yoga as well, you're also going to see the additional power or sort of pop in terms of the screens. Again, just like the X1 Carbon, we're talking about 1080p as well as 1440 Dolby Vision HDR 400. As far as the internal specs are concerned, oh, sorry, one more thing on the chassis as well. Should have mentioned, we should probably let's close these up for a second. So one of the things that they were able to do was actually keep the specs essentially the same as the previous generation, but shrink the footprint. So you'll notice it's probably, what, about a ½ inch off the length and the width. Maybe not immediately noticeable, but when you compare the two, it does make a difference. And honestly, something that fits a little bit smaller in your bag is useful.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Looks great, doesn't it? So if we bring these back. So again, as far as the specs are concerned, they're kind of the same as the X1 Carbon. Again, you're looking at 8 to 16 gigs of low power DDR3, up to 2 terabytes of PCI Express SSDs, Dolby Atmos, 4 speakers. Again, previous generation you had 2 speakers, sort of a combination of woofer and tweeter. Now you've got the woofer and tweeter separate. It does make a big difference in terms of a multimedia playback. Think shutter again, standard array of ports on the side. We can go ahead and take a look at that. Just looks really nice though with the aluminum, doesn't it? So you've got USB-C for charging, which is obviously a plus to anyone who hates using proprietary chargers, which really we all do. There are LTE options, although I don't know the price for those. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, it is nice. So again, the sort of the ThinkPad X1 Carbon and the X1 Yoga, both of these have been traditionally excellent business notebooks. We're hoping to get our hands on them to review them when they are officially released, again, in June for the Carbon and in June for the Yoga as well.
Nice.
Yep. So that's it for the Lenovo ThinkPads. Tune in to PC World and to our YouTube channel for more from CES 2019.